One of the key benefits for Kings Island Gold and Prestige Pass holders is early ride time. The 2024 lineup has been released. Hello, everyone. Alongside Ryan Sir, I'm Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics.
Tower Topics is a podcast by Kings Island fans for Kings Island fans, because that's who we are and that's who we care about. So, Don, one of the biggest benefits of a gold gold prestige or silver season pass is early ride times.
That's correct, Ryan, and the schedule just released. So let's start with what the park is offering April 20th, opening day, through May 31st. And we have Banshee, Soul Spin, Woodstock Express, Woodstock Whirlybirds, and this is 90 or 30 minutes before the park opens. So at 9:30, when the park opens, you'll be able to come in and take advantage of the early ride time if you are a pass holder. So, Ryan, what are your thoughts on the lineup?
I think that's it's a good lineup. Now, one thing I have noticed is that they usually try to have the rides like close to each other, but this is not the case in this case, obviously. So Banshee and Soul Spin, which might be a little rough first thing in the morning, if you Banshee's a little rough, and Soul Spin, I know people that have never ridden it because it's so intense and flips them upside down and twists them and stuff. But I guess you should probably save your breakfast for later. Maybe skip it if you're going to do the early ride times, because that's pretty early for these rides. Then we got Woodstock Express and Whirlybirds. So Woodstock Express is again, I mean, you want to have ones for the kids, obviously, but Whirlybirds, that's kind of cool because that does get a line. It's very low capacity. So I'm glad that they're doing that one.
I do like the lineup to start out with, that you're including a couple of kids rides here, rides that the parents and the kids can ride together. Banshee, gives the thrill seekers a major attraction to start the day. Soul Spin, not the highest capacity ride, per hour, so that's a good one to do then. But we're talking 30 minutes before the park opens. So by the time you get let in and get over to these rides, not like you're going to be able to ride all of them. You're going to have to kind of pick one or the other to do, because by the time you get off the ride, it's going to be 10 o'clock. So of these four, Ryan, where would you start your day?
I would probably do Soul Spin, because Soul Spin actually does garner a line. Banshee, even on the busiest days, is such a high capacity that you'll probably be okay. So yeah, I would start with Soul Spin. What about you?
I would go to Soul Spin, same reason, just because the line does get a little bit longer, as the day gets longer. So yeah, I would start there. All right,
Okay.
Moving on to June 1st to July 31st, we have Diamondback, Snoopy's Soapbox Racers. We have an opening date time. Woodstock's Air Rail, Franklin's Flyers, Snoopy's Space Buggies. So, Ryan, your thoughts on the early summer schedule?
Yeah, so I guess that is a kind of a vote of confidence, because Snoopy Soapbox Racers, they were saying late spring, but this definitely implies that June 1st is the date when they're pretty certain it's going to be ready. So that's kind of cool. It is all centralized in this instance, like I mentioned before, where you got Planet Snoopy, and then you've got just Diamondback, which is kind of in the area. Diamondback is a really, really good one to have for this, because that one garners some long lines rather often. But I think that the real winner obviously is going to be Snoopy Soapbox Racers, because that's going to be astounding the first year. So for these kids rides, all four of them are low capacity. So how many cycles do you think they'll be able to get between 9:30 and 10 a.m.?
You might be able to see 5 or 6 cycles. Because you're talking, Franklin's Flyers. By the time you get everybody in, get everybody out, they circle around, check everybody's, the belt and everything there to make sure everybody's locked in. That's a 5 or 6 minute process right there. So you're talking maybe, 5 would be a good morning to do that. I would like to have seen maybe one more thrill ride at this time of the year. Diamondback's great, but you got Mystic Timbers right there too.
Yeah.
So, if you're a parent and you've got young kids, this is a great lineup in the morning. Soapbox Racers, one train operation. Woodstock Air Rail one train operation. So the capacity is not going to allow you to do much. You're going to get in line first for the most part. I mean, those first 5 or 6 cycles, yeah, you're going to get on before 10 o'clock. But for me, I would have liked to seen something that's going to um, just more for the thrill seekers, the adults that don't have kids to do in the morning, or else that line of Diamondbacks going to get pretty busy right away.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that we're at the point now where the point isn't necessarily where you can get 4 or 5 rides on the early rides, but more like you get the
You
first
just get
ride of the
back, yeah,
day?
yeah. You're just getting first riders of the day. You get in line a little earlier than some of the other guests that don't have passes, but I like it. I just would have liked to have seen, since you're in the neighborhood, maybe Mystic Timbers be a part of the June 1st to July 31st lineup.
Yeah, I would have been concerned that it would have been Snoopy, Soapbox Racers, and Diamondback only. But at least there's other rides in there. And again, the low capacity thing is kind of cool in a way because you can potentially access it and the rest of the day it's going to be an hour. But
Yeah.
if your
Now,
goal
if you're
is to get several rides in,
yeah, and if you're a Gold Pass holder and you've got the All Park passport and you're a credit poacher and you're trying to get those credits, it's a good opportunity for you to come in and get that credit on Soapbox Racers.
yeah, I mean, I fully intend to ride Soapbox. They haven't announced that like you have to have a kid with you or anything. I don't think they're going to, but I'm looking forward to riding it. And
It's going to be
maybe the
fun. It really is. It's going to be a perfect complement. It's going to add, that fifth roller coaster in the kids area.
Mhm.
A lot of fun. I mean, I think the parents, their kids, everyone's going to enjoy it.
Yeah, I completely agree. So that's June 1st through July 31st. So that is a long time to just have the same rides. It used to be every month that they changed, right?
It was, yeah, there was a little bit more of a change up there. Now, August 1st, October 27th, this takes us through the fall season, except for Friday nights beginning August 16th. Once they get into hot in the fall, they don't have the early rides. You got Orion, you've got Mystic Timbers, you got Boo Blasters on Boo Hill, the Great Pumpkin Coaster. Now, I mentioned Mystic Timbers. I wish it was part of the lineup, June 1st to July 31st. I would have put Mystic Timbers there and maybe added Flight of Fear in this area. Maybe add Kings Mills, Antigato, just something that's over on that side of the park. You're not going to be able to get a ride on Orion and then make it over to Mystic Timbers before 10 o'clock. It just doesn't work that way.
You are
But
not. And then, Flight of Fear is one of my favorite rides in the park. I've
yeah,
talked about it several times, but I only ride it 4 or 5 times because I don't have the patience to wait an hour. And that with Orion right there, it's really bumped up the wait time for Flight of Fear. So I think the
yeah. So
benefit
I
would
would
have
have
been
put
there.
that. Yeah, I would have put Flight of Fear there and moved Mystic Timbers to the middle portion there with the kids' rides. And then if you had Flight of Fear, maybe a unique twist for the pass holders, and you allow them to ride from 9:30 to 10 with the lights on. Just give it a different twist.
Yeah. Now, one thing I did notice about this is, when we talk about the demographics that come to the park, when we talk about late season, so we're talking about, October, primarily September and October, it's families, little kids during the day, and then teenagers and adults in the evening, theoretically, of course. Why wouldn't you have some of the rides flipped where it's a lot more of the kiddie rides in the late season? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I would have definitely beefed up the kid lineup at this time of the year more so than I would even in the summer months. From June 1st to July 31st. I just think that's a time of year where, the kids are all coming. They want to do Tricks and Treats Fall Fest. They're getting there early. So to me, I think that's a bit of a miss there that you only have really the Great Pumpkin Coaster as the kids' rides.
Yeah. I mean, you have Boo Blasters too, but I think that its placement in the kids area gives it the veneer of a kid's ride, but it's really for everybody. And we've discussed many times, Kings Island needs like a good general awesome dark ride that's not a kid's ride, but
Oh, they
that's
do. But
for
I
the
mean, but you know what? Let's talk about the early ride time though. It used to be an hour,
Mhm.
and when it was an hour, very good value there. But now that's 30 minutes. You have more pass holders than ever coming to the park. Is that still a reason to buy a season pass, having that benefit? Do you see value in that still, Ryan?
No. Honestly, it's funny. I made this joke, but I mean it very honestly. So when I had the Prestige Pass, in which I will not be buying a Prestige Pass for 2024 unless circumstances change greatly, but it was a running joke that they had that special lane just for Prestige for the first 2 hours the park was open. Because tell me of a Prestige Pass holder that shows up when the park opens. No, Prestige Pass people show up 4 times a week after work. So to me, this early ride time stuff is completely. If they didn't do it anymore, it would be really immaterial to me. If they had night ride times where you could stick around at night like they used to every once in a while, that would be gold for me. Like if they had this lineup, but it was like 10 to 11 gold and prestige pass only or whatever, totally would be excited about that. But if I go to the park 40 times this season, which I think I did about 40 last season, I'm not going to get up. I mean, I live 45 minutes away, so I'm not going to get up and get ready and make it to the park by 9:30 in the morning on my day off to ride a ride that I'll ride 100 different times. Um,
Well, let
again,
me
if
let
they
me ask
had
you
it,
this.
yeah.
Yeah, let me ask you this. So, in order to kind of revamp this a little bit, since
Hmm.
we both feel that's not really a great benefit anymore, since it's just 30 minutes and there's more and more pass holders than ever, if they went, say, 10 to midnight once a month, maybe it's a Friday night once a month, and in June it's Mystic Timbers and Diamondback, and then in July it's Orion and Flight of Fear. And then in August, maybe it's Banshee and the Bat. So something like that. Would you find that to be more valuable, once a month for those 3 months than every single day for 30 minutes on select rides?
Yes, by all means. So selfishly, I would find a lot more value in that. But at the same time, I don't for a minute think they would ever consider that because they took away the midnight closes. Remember, there was four of them. They used to close at midnight in July,
Hmm.
and then it came like, well, the first weekend of June, and then the first weekend, or sorry, the last weekend of June, and the first weekend of August, and they kept on expanding them. And then all of a sudden, it's like now we're not doing that anymore, and now we're not even open till midnight on the 4th of July. So
Right.
I think that number one, there might be some safety concerns because I mean, everybody has a season pass, and by everybody, I mean everybody, unfortunately. And for two, I think that there's a growing mentality amongst some of the ranks where it's like, if we close at 10, I don't have to be here until midnight. I've got a sneaking suspicion of that, which I don't blame them. I would probably think the same way, but I do know that I've had friends that would come to town to go to Kings Island. They would plan their visit around, oh, they're open till midnight. So you know what? That's the day I'm going to come to Kings Island. I'm going to buy a ticket. I'm going to buy fast lane and so on because I get the most value out of it. They took that away from them, you
Yeah.
know?
Ryan, when I was on the inside there for 17 seasons, you become a little naive to it because you're not really, you don't have passes to all these other parks and you're not seeing
Hmm.
what everything is out there. So you're comparing maybe, what you're doing versus maybe another Cedar Fair park or something like that. And then sometimes it becomes easy just to throw the same things out there every year without, freshening it up and
Hmm.
really taking a hard look at what you're doing there or not be afraid to make a change and try something different. But as I've bought season passes to other parks and, um, just some of the things that come with a season pass, the benefits in that. I mean, there really is a lot of value to me having a season pass to those parks. And it just, makes me take a look at what Kings Island offers and the Cedar Fair Parks offer uh, in their season pass program. And I think it's, there's things that they could do to really enhance the value there. That's really of minimal cost for the park.
Yeah, I completely agree. Some of it would take effort though. And I think that and by effort, I don't mean like actually sitting there at the table to check people in for the private party. I'm saying like sitting down and thinking like, how is this different? Like, how is this special? Would this resonate with people? You
Yeah,
know?
but like I said, to
So
me, it was kind of naive because I was on that inside, not really, you know, it looked good on paper, until you get these other passes and you start to do comparisons and you start to see all the little extras and benefits that you get as a pass holder, and just find a lot of value in the parks that I've bought a pass for. And I'd like to just see the park take a step back spend some time in a room and really talk about it. What can we do to make the season pass program better? And you might see that, once the merger goes through, and you get,
Hmm.
what Six Flags does, you start incorporating some of those things into it. So,
Right.
that may come.
Right, and then you have to win back trust after that too, because you've got the enhanced pass perks and stuff like that, which was a good idea that they never delivered. So even if they deliver it this year, it's going to be like, well, how long is that going to last? Because we also were promised bottled water in the VIP lounge.
Right.
Um, but one thing that I have noticed is you're always going to have somebody coming back saying like, well, if you don't like it and you don't renew your season pass, then you're just a drop in the bucket. There's 3 million visitors per year. But I mean, I'm not worried about Kings Island 2024. I'm worried about Kings Island 2030. I'm worried that enough people are going to say, Kings Island, they close at 9 for half the year now. That used to be 10. We used to get this with our season pass. We don't get that anymore. They haven't added rides in a while, whatever ends up happening. And then I know personally people that have decided, since there's quote unquote nothing going on at Kings Island this year, have opted for Dollywood passes. And then what about Kentucky Kingdom? Kentucky Kingdom's within a stone's throw. Their season pass is worth more than ever now. They added a Christmas event. We're gonna have somebody on the show to talk about that, hopefully, on Attractions Group podcast. But as Hershey knows what they're doing. I think we can all agree on that. But if they start adding equity to Kentucky Kingdom and doing things right and making it attractive, who's to say they can't peel off, 30,000 people from Northern Kentucky that decides I'm just going to go there instead, or maybe 10 or 15,000 people from the area, or even worse, group sales out of Louisville, which Kings Island still wins. I'm
Right.
worried about, a half decade down the line of poor decision after poor decision, diminishing the value of the pass. And then other groups, Dollywood is adding hours and adding days. Kentucky Kingdom, again, is making their pass more valuable than ever. Six Flags is adding days. It's everybody else is doing it. And then it's going to come down to, even if I buy it, like, what if people buy passes they don't visit? That's bad too. You know, it's like, so none of this is a recipe for something good. Fortunately, as you mentioned, we're going through the merger. We can't have judgment. We have to withhold judgment until the merger's over to see how the new Six Flags Cedar Fair, whatever it's called, feels about this,
Yeah, and that
because it's going
gives
to be
both chains a chance to kind of reinvent the season pass program a little bit. Add some new life to it. So I just just when I looked at the early ride lineup, and you look at the fall, not enough there for the kids to me. You look at the summer, you need that extra throw right there. It's great that they do this. It's a nice, it looks good on paper, but I like to see a little more value there.
I agree. Well, Don, before we go on, we need to throw you a little bit of a congratulations, right? You hit
What's
a little
going
bit
on?
of a milestone.
Yeah, yeah. Had some a good past 30 days, on my social channels, Facebook.
Hmm.
The impressions have surpassed 1 million impressions. Not
Hmm.
bad for an individual, right? And the Theme Parks by Don blog has
Hmm.
surpassed 100,000 impressions. So I really appreciate everyone that has visited Theme Parks by Don to see the content that I'm publishing there pretty much on a daily basis, writing about the whole industry, not just Kings
Hmm.
Island there, but the whole industry. And then on my Facebook, I do a lot of the on this date type things that people seem to really like, whether it's
Hmm.
from Kings Island or Cedar Point or other parks. I'll integrate the blog post on my social channels, or just general news items that I see that's out there around the industry. But I really appreciate, that people do check out the content and they find interest in it.
Yeah, it's very cool. I like your perspective on stuff, and I like how you see the story that's not there. It's almost like you've done this before. Um, but enough about you. Let's talk about me. Actually, no. Let's talk about the listener question. This one's from Sharon P. And Sharon said, "What, in your opinion, is the most underrated dining location at Kings Island?" And I will let you start.
Well, for me, it's Jukebox Diner. I think that
Uh,
is a hidden gem at the park. The burgers at Jukebox Diner, the best at Kings Island. We talked on another episode about the brew house and how good the burgers were there. But for me, Jukebox Diner, just terrific burgers. You've got some of the other items in there, just kind of a hidden gem. Everybody sees Coney Barbecue, they see the Brew House, the Chicken Shack in Action Zone, uh,
Mhm.
but don't sleep on Jukebox Diner. The food there is terrific.
Yeah, I like Jukebox Diner as well. I like their fries. They've got fries with that, like, chili powder, I guess, kind of that kind of seasoning, and that's really good. They have a patty melt there, which I think is really good. It's on rye bread, which I normally don't like, but I do like it for that. The other thing is you mentioned Chicken Shack, but I think Chicken Shack has definitely been kind of brushed under the carpet. And yeah, I can't tell you how tired I am of like chicken tenders. Whether they offer chicken tenders at like 6 different locations in the park, but the chicken sandwich, the crispy chicken sandwich that they added a few years ago, it's still on the menu, and that's so good. It was funny because I remember they had that, and they had Chick-fil-A, and I think when they added it, Chick-fil-A was not yet on the meal plan. If I don't fact check me on that, I'm not sure, but I remember thinking like this is so much bigger and juicier and better than Chick-fil-A. RIP Chick-fil-A, it's no longer at the park, obviously, but um, yeah, I would say I would agree with you. The jukebox, I would say honorable mention would be the Chicken Shack. But yeah, very, very cool. Well, congratulations on your milestone, Don. Very excited about the future of themeparksbydon.com, simply because there's going to be a way for me to benefit from that, I'm sure, whether it's you promoting the podcast or something.
Well, there will be down the line. Stay tuned.
All right. Hey, I'm Ryan Sir, along with Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics.